Hello everyone, got a few dirty jokes for you today. So a teacher fell asleep in class and a little naughty boy walked up to him. The boy inquired, "Teacher, are you sleeping in class?" The teacher, startled awake, denied with a chuckle, "No, I'm not sleeping in class." Unconvinced, the boy pressed on, curiosity evident in his tone. "Then what were you doing, sir?" The teacher, amused by the boy's persistence, replied, "I was talking to God." The following day, fate played its hand in a delightful twist. The same naughty boy, having drifted into slumber during the lesson, became the focus of the teacher's attention. Addressing the boy sternly, the teacher remarked, "Young man, you are sleeping in my class." Defending his momentary lapse, the boy retorted, "No, not me, sir. I'm not sleeping." The teacher's patience waned as he demanded, "Then what were you doing?" With a grin and a hint of defiance, the boy responded, "I was talking to God." The teacher's annoyance grew as he fired back, and what did he have to say? The boy replied, "God said he never spoke to you yesterday." So a man grew suspicious that his wife might be cheating on him while he was at work. Distressed by these thoughts, he confided in his best friend about his concerns. "I'm thinking of setting up a hidden camera in the bedroom," he shared, "but that could get expensive." His best friend offered a more whimsical solution, saying, "Why not try a simple and inexpensive trick? Just attach a spoon beneath your mattress and place a bowl filled with milk beneath it. If your wife ends up in bed with someone else, the mattress will sink and the spoon will dip into the milk. When you return home, you can easily check if there's milk on the spoon." Intrigued and somewhat desperate, the man decided to give it a shot and followed his friend's advice. After a couple of days, the two friends crossed paths again. Curious, the friend asked, "Did you go through with it?" The man nodded, a mixture of exasperation and amusement on his face. "Yes, I did everything you suggested. I set up the spoon, the bowl, poured in the milk, and kept a close watch yesterday evening." Leaning in, the friend inquired eagerly, "Well, what happened?" The bowl was filled with butter. So a wife says to her husband, "I called the surgery saying I think I'm pregnant, and they said to bring in a specimen." "What do they mean?" He says, "I don't know, but Mary next door has been pregnant loads of times, so why not go and ask her?" So off she goes, and she comes back later with a fat lip, a thick ear, a nosebleed, a black eye, and half her clothing ripped to shreds, and her husband says, "What in the name of Jesus, Mary and Joseph and the wee donkey have you been doing?" And she says, "That wasn't my fault. I asked Mary what the surgery mean by bring in a specimen, and she said go piss in a bottle. So of course I said, oh well then, and you can go shit in your purse, Mary Flanagan." And things went downhill from there. So an exam was taking place in Oxford's oldest and most traditional college. The ancient hall was packed with students in deep concentration. Halfway through, a student stood up, banged his desk, and loudly demanded a pint of beer. The head examiner, furious at the disruption, asked him to explain yourself at once. The student cited Section 7B of a long-forgotten 13th century charter which stated students must receive a pint of ale at the midpoint of all exams. After finding a copy of the charter and seeing the student was right, the examiner begrudgingly dispatched an assistant to fetch a beer. As the student smugly sipped on his pint, the head examiner suddenly announced, "You are expelled from this college, effective immediately." "Why?" asked the student. "For entering an exam hall without your sword." So a hunter was out with his dog Old Faithful when he sees a duck and shoots it down. Old Faithful runs and brings back the duck. As the hunter reaches for the duck, a forest ranger comes by, snatches the duck out of Old Faithful's mouth, puts his finger in its ass, pulls it out, smells his finger, and says, "This here is a Wisconsin duck. Do you have a license to shoot Wisconsin ducks?" The hunter reaches into his wallet and pulls out a license for a Wisconsin duck. The officer says, "Thank you, sir. Have a great day," and leaves. The hunter then proceeds with Old Faithful when he sees another duck, takes his aim and shoots it down. Old Faithful runs, grab the duck, and come back. The hunter's about to grab the duck when the same forest ranger comes back, grabs the duck out of the dog's mouth, takes his finger, puts it up the duck's ass, pulls it out, smells his finger, and says, "This is an Ohio duck. Have you got a license to shoot Ohio ducks, sir?" The hunter reaches into his wallet and pulls out a license for an Ohio duck. The officer looks at him and says, "I'm sorry, sir. Just doing my job. Have a nice day," and leaves. Well, this kept happening over and over. Every time the hunter shot a duck and Old Faithful would bring it back, the same forest ranger would be there to question the hunter if he had a license for all the different ducks he shot, and in his bewilderment seeing the hunter having all these different licenses for each duck. Well, on the last duck the hunter shot and Old Faithful bringing it back, the same forest ranger comes and triumphantly snatches the duck out of the dog's mouth, takes his finger, puts it up the duck's ass, smells it, and says, "This here is a Canadian duck. Have you got a license to shoot Canadian duck?" Exasperated, the hunter reaches into his wallet and pulls out a license for a Canadian duck. The forest ranger looks at the hunter and says, "You know, sir, you've had a license for every duck you shot. Tell me, where are you from?" The hunter turns around, drops his pants, bends over, and says, "You tell me. You're the expert." So a lawyer's wife had passed away. At her grave, everyone was taken aback. The tombstone read, "Here lies Phyllis, wife of attorney Murray Williams, specializes in divorce and malpractice." Murray burst into tears. His brother said, "You should cry, pulling off a cheap publicity stunt like this." Murray replied, "You don't understand. I gave them my business card." His brother apologized. The lawyer continued, "And they didn't even include the phone number."